Hello and welcome everybody. Give my camera here a second to not freak out on us. Let me configure that really quick. I don't know why, but this autofocus keeps getting turned on. It's really frustrating. But that's all sorted out now. So hello, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Pixelogic ZBrush Twitch channel or YouTube or Facebook, wherever you're watching. Hello everybody. Mike, what's going on? If you guys don't know who I am Follygon. How you guys doing? We are going to be continuing on a concept by Luigi Lucarelli. Goes by Hello Luigi on Instagram. You guys should absolutely go check out his work. If you guys did not see the first part to this stream, it is available. Let's see. That's not the right browser. Here we go. It is available on the Pixelogic YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, Pixelogic ZBrush. We started up from a sphere, went through, blocking out all those beautiful primary shapes, all the way up to the point where we are today, which we will be, let me close this, which we will be pushing on this a little bit more today, probably starting to add some poly paint. I very quickly blocked out some colors, but we'll be redoing some of that, taking another look, taking another stab at a lot of this. And yeah, that's about it. I'll give a little bit more time for some other people to pop in here. Let me know if you can hear me. Gliffy, what's going on? Stifler first. Very nice, welcome. Let's see. Again, I am Follygon. You can check me out and all my stuff out. I guess you can check me out right now if that's your thing. But Follygon.com, that's where you can find my stuff, as well as gumroad.com/Follygon. I have some courses on here at the top of the screen for some more beginner people. I have a quick start course to get you up and running in ZBrush as quick as possible with what I think is the most important stuff to learn kind of in that introductory period, as well as some more intermediate and advanced tutorials, some bases, some base meshes, some brushes, my custom UI, brushes, materials, all that good stuff. Again, that's gumroad.com/Follygon. Check it out. And with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started here. So, we started up from a sphere. Again, if you guys are just joining us for the first time on this one, we did this last Tuesday up from a sphere. It's over on the Pixelogic YouTube channel. Make sure that stays there. And today we're going to be pushing on this more, starting to add some poly paint, starting to fix a few things. If you've never been to one of my streams, I guess I'll show this off real quick. I've been doing a little bit of a stylized character sculpt of Felix or PewDiePie. So that's how that's going. If you guys are interested in seeing some more stuff like this or just checking out some more streams with me, it's just twitch.tv/Follygon with an underscore at the end. But yeah, there's the Felix boy. We were doing some more stuff with his hair today, as well as some more proportional changes in the face. But yeah, swing by, come check it out sometime. Let's get back to Luigi now. So the first thing I think that really sticks out to me before I do anything else, I'm gonna start giving this guy a little bit more meat on his neck. I'll just come around here and give a little bit more volume to that top portion and start to kind of blend that down the rest of the neck. Feeling just a little bit too thin to me. He's got pretty much a pencil neck already, but I think we could stand to, save him a little bit of neck pain. Other than that, in terms of major shapes here, I think maybe the jaw could be a little bit wider, and then the head up top could be a little bit more narrow. You know what? He's kind of got a little bit of a bulbous head. We'll pull that in just a tad. Let's check that 3/4 view. Maybe just fill this in a little bit up here. Make sure that doesn't completely break on us. And that's starting to feel a little bit better. What else? What else we want to correct here? Typically when I get back to a project, I haven't looked at this in a week since the last time we did our stream, other than him missing some arms, which is, kind of important. I guess they're kind of cut off, so it doesn't really matter that much. But typically when I come back to a project, I do a kind of once-over pass, essentially just picking up on things that, maybe after a little bit of rest for my eyes, when you look at something too long, you start to get used to it and start to get used to all the bad stuff that you did before. So when I come back to something like we're doing today, I like to do this once-over pass and just kind of get anything that really sticks out to me. Just be a little nitpicky. Other than that, I think we'll probably go into some color and probably some stuff with the hair as well, which, if you remember last stream, we kind of just left as a Dynameshed mess. So we'll be doing quite a bit of work with that. I think if I can, I'd like to pull this geo down along the mouth. Just get that a little bit tighter in there. Let's see. It's not exactly what I was looking for. Let me do a little bit more pushing and pulling there. Kind of trying to get some kind of, there we go. Actually, that's more of what I was looking for. Some kind of like inflated shape that I could start to soften. I might be able to push that a little bit more there. I'm using move back face masking to do that. Alright, cool. So like I said, we do have a little bit of poly paint on here that we kind of just, oh, I don't think we did project it. I don't think we projected this. I think what we did was do some quick blockout colors. Typically the way I do this is go up here. I typically use the standard brush, MRGB, and for something like the skin tone, I like to use my Zebra paint material for a lot of this, and then just sample some colors directly from my image, which I believe is what I did, but it was looking very pale. If we look at that in comparison, it feels very pale to me, so I think I just kind of added a little bit more red to the skin tone to help get that feeling less kind of corpse-like, for lack of a better term. How would you add thickness to a shirt and thickness in ZBrush? And that comes from Ricky Jr. over on Facebook. Well, Ricky, there's a lot of different ways to add thickness to objects. Typically, kind of depends what you're doing and why you're trying to achieve that thickness, but a lot of the time I fake thickness because it ends up, doubling your poly count at least, if not more. So a lot of the time I typically fake thickness on a lot of stuff to save on poly count. But if you need to add thickness to an object, probably one of the easiest ways to do something like that. Let's just duplicate an object and initialize down to a cube. Okay, so we got a cube, right? And let's just grab this top plane of the cube. So we had a cube, now we just have a plane. So I want to add thickness to this plane of geometry. The easiest way for me to do that is to go to the Z modeler brush and extrude that geometry. So hold space over your plane after you've selected the Z modeler brush, go to extrude and extrude that geometry. And as I extrude that down, you can see that it's looking a little bit funky. It's like hollow. And that's because the normals are flipped on that. So let me just come down into display properties and flip that. And voila, there we go. So if you have something that is a little bit more complex than a cube, what then? What then, you ask? Well, it's actually what I did down here on this shirt. So I had this geometry here, which is indeed hollow. I have double turned on so I can see backside facing polygons. And I did not extrude every single one of these polygons one at a time. That's absolutely absurd. So what I did was I held spacebar, again, extruded a polygon, but this time I chose all polygons. And I just extruded in and added some quick thickness to that. So that's one way that you can go about doing that. There are many methods, but that's probably, one of the quicker ones, depending on your needs. Marco, what's going on, man? How you doing? All right. let's continue coming through here and doing some form changes. I think up around this nose, it's just a little bit too much of a gradual form change. I think I would prefer greatly if that was a little bit of a steeper incline there. And I'm just gonna pull this nose back, the bridge of the nose I should say. Based on that image, this is feeling pretty flat. And let me just soften that a little bit through there. And let's see. I really would like to, now that I'm kind of taking another look at this, I would really like to redefine the shape of the brow. We kind of softened this quite a bit during our last stream. We had it a little bit sharper at first, but it felt too strong, so I think we ended up kind of seesawing and going back the other way too much. So if I can, I'd like to find that nice in-between today. Let's play around with this brow area really quick. And then after we do this, we'll kind of do a quick glance around, see if there's anything else we want to change. And then we can scooch on up to the hair. Scooch. That's like the most Midwestern thing you can say, isn't it? What is it like? Let me scooch past you and grab the ranch? I think that's the saying. It's true. We love our ranch dressing. I actually... Never mind. Yeah, I live in the Midwest. It's true. We all love it. We all say scooch. Alright, so that's feeling just a little bit too tight. That was made with the pinch brush and lazy mouse. So now let's kind of hit that back ever so slightly. I really want just enough of a change in the direction of the surface there. And if you're having trouble sculpting with your poly paint on, just turn it off. I like to just switch to my clay sculpting material. And if I'm having trouble seeing, I'll just switch back to that really quick and get some quick sculpting done. I like this material a lot because it helps me see where certain areas of a surface are either convex or concave, whereas with some other materials it's maybe a little bit more difficult to see. Just want to get some more volume right through here really quick. I'm just using a clay tubes brush to do that. Z-Modeler is a formidable tool. Yes, yes it is. I love the Z-Modeler brush. It's awesome. Alright, we're still getting a little bit, like right around here. We're getting like a weird kind of surface turn and shadow. Just a little bit. If I were going to do this for a client, I might spend a lot more time kind of fixing that surface, but I think we are good to move on from here. So let's keep it the way it is. I think it won't really be too visible with our poly paint on, which it's not. We'll probably play with that brow shape a little bit more as well as we kind of continue forward. But there we go. I'm kind of liking that direction. We'll probably soften that a bit more through here just to make sure we're not getting this super strong plane change. But cool, cool, cool. All right. Dafrawi, maybe? How's it going? How's it going? Everybody else on YouTube as well. Hope you guys are having a good night. All right, continuing on. What do you guys think? Arms or hair next? because we could just kind of do what the sculpt, or I'm sorry, not the sculpt. We could just do what the illustration has done and just clip off everything below that line. So it like clips off before before his arms would start, or before that armpit would even be. Could do that. I don't know. Is that ninja? I don't think it's supposed to be ninja. This image is from like 2 years ago. I found it on Luigi Lucarelli's art station Instagram. So I don't think, maybe it is. I don't think he was as big back then. I don't know if he had blue hair back then either. Duck is saying, let's do some arms. Muhammad Essam, what's going on? Normal hair. And Muhammad says hair as well. That's 2 votes hair. Do we have another vote for arms? Can I get an arms? Arms going once. Twice. Sold. Sold. We're going for the hair. All right. Let me make a little correction here to the nose. I'm going to round that out a little bit more from the profile. Whoops. Don't have symmetry on there. That's okay. Not a big deal. All right. So for our hair, if you guys didn't see the last part 1, I'd recommend going back to check that out for the process on how to do this. But I've just very quickly blocked out a lot of geometry up here with a sphere, and then I started slicing it up, but we ran out of time. So currently all we have is the very kind of broken up, very dirty Dynameshed pieces of hair down here. So what we're going to do is work on these kind of piecemeal, one at a time. Oh, we're missing a piece there. And start using these to block out the major shapes of our hair. So again, these were done initially with, I think they were done with an extraction off the base of the head, and then I started pushing and pulling on them and Dynameshing everything. And then we kind of just sliced it all up and went from there where we are now. We'll just kind of continue shaping and cleaning up some of this stuff. Let's see here. Let me get that top one. We'll do this one next. Let me just Dynamesh that really quick. And I'm trying to keep these pretty low poly. So what I'm doing during this process is actually remeshing them down to 0.1, just to like get rid of any high resolution geometry that might be present. We don't need that at all right now. We don't want to worry about it. We don't want to think about it. We just want something easy to work with. And we can kind of sculpt on this and start filling out some of this shape a bit more. Cool, man. What's going on? Can Sculptress be streamed and being able to receive money off of it, like donations or printing stuff? In terms of those questions, I would probably ask the Pixelogic staff directly. Sculptress, you're talking about the free software that Pixelogic offers. I would check out the official website, maybe get in contact with the devs, or check out the official Discord channel. There's some devs in there as well. You can ask some questions. I know I'm pretty positive I know the answer to this, but you know, just in case, I'll let them handle it. Do you think Z-Sphere would be a good as base for stylized hair? No, I don't. I don't like Z-Spheres at all. This is just kind of my preference. I know a lot of people that do like Z-Spheres and use them a lot. I do not like Z-Spheres. I have never liked Z-Spheres. I'm much faster at just using primitive geometry, Dynameshing and blocking stuff out that way, kind of like what I'm doing right now, which is how we did the face. It was just started from a sphere, Dynameshed it all, kind of kept going, and eventually did some remeshing. Nothing wrong with Z-Spheres. I just, personal preference, like I said, don't like them. Looking cool. Well, thank you, cool man. You are looking cool too, and you have a cool name. Yeah, I recommend that you do try out Z-spheres, absolutely. Figure out what works best for your own workflow. Just because it works for one person doesn't mean it will or will not work for you. Like I said, I know plenty of people that use them and get by just fine. Whoa, come on back. Rotating all over the place. Alright, so I'm just trying to figure out the flow I want here. Let's see here. Ooh, okay, so we're getting a little bit of some bad geo. Didn't really close back here, so let me fill this in really quick. Isn't that fun? It's okay, pretty easy to fix though, if you know what you're doing. Terrible geometry is 5 seconds away from being good geometry. Or at least sculpturally good geometry. Ah, this stuff is kind of all over the place. I say I get the poly count on those brought down quite a bit lower. It'll make it much easier to work on. Let's see here. A lot of what I want to do here is get a lot of this flowing back further. Kind of just pulled it all up in the same area. I think once we do that, we will be in a lot better place. He's kind of got this, like, it feels like the hair is kind of slicked back to me. So we'll try to get some of that going on. Mochi, what's going on? Where are the grills? Where are the grills at? I don't know, man. I think you're gonna have to ask in chat for the grills. For I am not a grill myself. Alright, let's fill this in. Probably round this out a little bit more in the back, I'm thinking. Let's see, where do I want that? Probably a little bit lower, yeah? I am doing this asymmetrically. I think when sculpting your hair, you should pretty much always do it asymmetrically, or it starts to really get into kind of like bland territory really fast. So I find that this is best to like just handle it asymmetrically. Maybe in the very beginning, kind of like what I did, you can pull it out roughly into something symmetrical, but then from there, you should start breaking symmetry as quick as you can. Alright. Let's lower the res on all this garbage, and we'll continue blocking out our shapes. I might have broke that. Nope. So what's so important about the earlier stages of blocking something out is really focusing on those primary forms. And I know it looks terrible, it looks messy, right? It's, you know, crazy, crazy messy geometry. But what's important is that we're starting to fit that major silhouette. And what I'm starting to think about more and more is what that's gonna look like from the profile. Just because it fits the silhouette from the front doesn't mean that it's going to work from all angles. We are 3D artists. I say this all the time. Gotta make it look good from every angle. Can't be dirty cheaters like those 2D artists. So let's kind of pull this out a bit more in the back. Like I said, it feels like it's kind of like slicked back more to me. As long as we're fitting those major shapes, we're going in a good direction. It's a lot easier for me to kind of just, during this block out phase, split some of this up. I might combine it back up and continue working on the big shape, but at least for now, this is pretty helpful to me. Especially with masking. There's some cool auto masking features that you can use in ZBrush. like topological masking, mask by polygroup features. They're in your brush menu under auto masking. I actually don't use them very often because of a couple reasons. The main one being that when you use them, you can't initially select on one piece of geometry without affecting it. I like to sometimes, if I want to work on this masked off piece of geometry, I sometimes want to click my mouse down here and get like a little bit of that edge of the brush, only the outer circle there to affect it a little bit. Can't do that with those features on, so I tend to keep them off a lot of the time. Maku, what's going on? I am doing fantastic, man. Thank you for asking. Hope you're doing well. I'm wondering how his hair would look using fiber mesh. Probably exactly the same if you spent the time to get it up to the level that we see here. I don't know if it was an issue with ZBrush and Dynamesh. Sometimes breaks the mesh as you solve it with the hair. I'm not sure what you mean by that. Are you talking about the like thin geometry with all the holes in it that I was getting? That's a Dynamesh problem. It's more of an operator error issue, less of a Dynamesh problem, because I am... Oops, sorry. Fixing my chat. Pull that back up. Because I was Dynameshing on something that was extremely thin, and that's a no-no for Dynamesh if you don't know. But yeah, it was kind of my bad, but really easy to fix. I typically don't think about it and don't worry about it too much because it's so easy for me to fix, especially during these blockout phases. We don't want to... During the blockout phase, you shouldn't be thinking about how well your geometry is, you know, cleaned up or formed up and all this stuff. Just worry about the big shapes and literally nothing else, and you'll get there much faster. Like right now, I'm thinking that this is kind of just needing to be re-dynameshed so that I can start filling in some of these forms in the back. That's not like filling in super well. So I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna, whoops, give me a low-res Dynamesh, please. Sure, something like that. Really low resolution. And I'm just gonna come through here and like sculpt up some of this a little bit. Fill in some of this shape. Let's see. Honestly, like trim this back. Just kind of sculpt what I'm seeing. Need a silhouette change there. That's fine. I'm gonna break that back down because it's not going the right direction. I'll redo that. Let me just make sure that's filling in the proper silhouette there. Form is made up or defined by line. So that makes line pretty important, right? And line is your silhouette, whether that be internal or external. So in sculpture, your silhouette is pretty dang important. It's pretty high up there on the list of things that you should worry about. So I kind of obsess over it pretty hard a lot of the time. And yeah, I think it's worth it. Just to make sure that this remeshes a little bit more cleanly later on, I think I'll just smooth that out really quick. Used to use inflate brush, and then Dynamesh it again to solve it. Yeah, I did pretty much the same thing. I used move backface masking. It's like the exact same thing, it just gives you a little bit more control. Instead of inflating universally, I can only inflate on a specific side, or you know, the outside if I want. Again, that's in your brush auto masking palette, if you want to play around with that. I think the main shape of the hair is pretty close to what we want. Let's just do a low-res Z-remesh, add a couple subdivs, and come through with something like a mech brush. And right here where this hair kind of splits, start getting a little bit of a harder transition through there. So there's one up through there. There's a couple more up through some of these other areas. This is kind of like where I split the hair at. I'm actually fine with just doing this as a major shape, and then we can start getting some more secondary form on some of this. For out here, how do I want to do this? We could just like chop out the hole there. And it's honestly not like a bad idea. Just to make that a little bit easier. Whoops, did that backwards. It doesn't want to play nice. Typically, you could run a close holes operation on something like that. A lot of the time, I'll use Dynamesh because it does a little bit of a better job at closing holes on shapes that are a little less uniform, kind of like this. It didn't really do what I wanted though, so just kind of go over it again. And remember our objective here, kind of in these earlier stages. You know, speed is important, but it's like, at the same time, I want the shape to be accurate, so I always recommend that people take their time in these earlier stages of blocking out shape. I think we talked a lot about this kind of stuff while we were blocking out the face and the other stuff on this dude. It's pretty simple though. So it really didn't take that long for most of it. If I go contacting through Discord, how would I go about that? You know, like I said, if you're not familiar with Discord, I think just go to the Pixelogic website and you can get a hold of the devs on there. There is a contact page / form for any and all questions. Got a little bit of the same thing going on the other side. So let's do that side next. Just like a little cutout. I'm using the Selection Lasso brush to do this, by the way, for those unfamiliar. I could just do like a quick mask and polygroup, but I'm kind of hoping that one of these times it will give me the result that I want. Sometimes it works. It looks like on this geometry it's just a little bit too much of a misshapen form here. I think we're gonna carve through here quite a bit. Oof. Here, let me just do this a few times really quick. Start to just force that in the direction I need. And everything starts out messy. This face started out messy. Now it's a bit more clean. There's still more stuff we can do to it though. It's all one step at a time. And the longer you sculpt, I think the more you kind of just get comfortable with things being messy for a while. I remember when I was kind of new to sculpting that there was definitely a point where I was like, oh, I gotta get out of this stage as fast as possible. But it's actually really nice to stay at this level for as long as you can. Like I said, it is the most important and most difficult stage simultaneously. It's a lot to think about during this part. And that's why I'm getting a little quiet, trying to concentrate. My neighbor's dog's barking in the background does not help though. Let's see, from here, let's do some masking and playing around with our move brush. I think our geometry is probably just a little bit too high resolution. It'll be a lot easier to manipulate once we lower that. And I'll just start carving in a little bit more in a couple areas here. Mike, what's going on? What are we amening? The church. Welcome to the Church of Folly. Teach you everything I know. Which really isn't that much, so it shouldn't take that long. Let's grab our snack hook, which I don't really like very much a lot of the time, but I think there made sense. Yes, getting the major forms down before moving on to the fun stuff, absolutely. You've done realistic work, I assume you know the roles, anatomy, etc. Stylized work is breaking the realistic roles. Not sure what you mean by that. Anatomy is a tool, much like style is a tool. Anatomy isn't character, style isn't character. Shape language is not character. It's not. Yeah, they're just tools. They're all just tools. Costume. Accessories. None of that is character. I always like to say Batman, even without his suit, you know, he's still Batman. Batman without the costume, without the utility belt, all that. So all that stuff to me is just like tools. Not that they're not important, but I think in the earlier stages for people, they get really caught up with trying to learn specific things. I hear a lot of new people try to say like, yeah, I'm studying anatomy. I'm like, oh, okay. What does that mean? Like, what are you studying? That's what I want to know. Like, I don't know. I've done a lot of anatomy studies, but like studying anatomy by itself doesn't really mean much to me. Typically, I study anatomy when I have a specific question. I find that to be kind of the best route. So, if I'm sculpting, you know, around the shoulder girdle, and I get to a place where I'm like, what am I doing here? Like, this isn't feeling right. Something's off. That's when I grab the books behind me on the shelf and start grabbing as many references as I can online, trying to figure out what's going on underneath the surface, all that good stuff. But I feel like a lot of general anatomy studies can be a little bit of a waste of time. That's right, kids. You heard it here. Don't study anatomy. No, that's not what I'm saying. Yes, gotta have a cake before you put on the icing. It's true. You know. You've maybe heard my Great British Bake Off or baking show analogy. It's a bad bake. It's a pretty common analogy though. So I doubt I am the first. Alright. Now that we've got this a little bit further along, I say we do a new splitty-doo. Oh boy, more splits. We can either do it just with polygroups. That was a crappy polygroup color. With just polygroups, or we can actually split the geometry off by itself. I'm actually going to split the geometry off, at least while we start to shape up these forms more. This is typically what I do for stuff like this. I'll start getting that big, large shape, and then from there, you know, I'll get something like this. It's just going to be easier to work on this kind of connective area where those two shapes run together with them separated than it will be with them together. So in this case, got something nice and simple to work with. You can start pulling this shape out, look at it from the side. Let's see, it's got more of a kind of a tilt down. And the shape is even more complicated here. You can see that it comes to a point and then back in, and then down to another point, and then all the way down. So we want to just get that, you know, initial 1, 2. Think of that silhouette as just being one kind of sharp point there. So to do that, I'm going to use Move AccuCurve and pull out a little bit of a dagger point there. And we got kind of that top part going the right direction, but what we need from the bottom is just a little bit more volume down here. So coming down, we can just start filling that in. I'm just going to use my clay tubes brush. Start sculpting some of that up. And if you want to start using, you know, if you're at the stage where you want to start getting some hair texture, you could use something like this for the clay tubes, which is a nice way to get some quick texture in on a lot of different shapes. Hair, wood, you know, something for a tree. A lot of different uses for it. All right, there we go. We're starting to fit that silhouette quite a bit better now. Let's just make sure that we're being smart here with the area around the ear. Then for the rest of this, I am going to round out this curve on top, fill this form in, more so up towards the peak. All right, there we go. Starting to fit that much more closely. Use that Move AccuCurve a little bit down here on the sideburns and kind of square these off a little bit. Aries, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Was doing a lot of realistic work and found most of my clients asking for stylized work more than realistic, and I loved it. Well, I also love stylized work, so that's why I do it. All right, let's grab that next chunk of luscious lock and wrap around our mask. Will be our next chunk of hair. And I'm thinking that probably what we'll end up doing is using something like a curved tube brush to get these additional few strokes on top. So this will kind of be one large chunk wrapping up to that point, to that split. And the rest we can do separately. Alright, I'm going to turn off the grouping there. It's getting a little annoying. Let's grab our Dynamesh. Move backface masking. And here we go. Alright, so for this chunk, I think I am going to flow this back even further. You know what, maybe let's play around with that. I was thinking either a little bit further back or a little bit more forward. That other one is pretty far back though, so let's maybe get the opposite going on. All right. Let's see here. To make sure we're kind of keeping this in a nice area, let's just go ahead and clean up the surface on that very quickly. Nothing too fancy. Just a quick, smooth pass there. Alright, so maybe we can go a little bit less deep here, so let's try some rotation. And you know what, that maybe feels a little bit more accurate to me. But I think we should fill in the shape back here a bit more. So I'm not really liking how hollow that's getting right through there. Milo Kilo, or Milo Kilo, one of the two. Welcome. Thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. So if we look at this kind of internal silhouette line coming up from the side of the head across the forehead, it's a bit more flat. So what that's telling me is that we need to adjust our hairline where this connects up a little bit. So that's why I was trying to push this back a little bit. Give him a little bit more of that big forehead that he's got going on. And it might be that our forehead just needs to plane out a little bit more from the front, be a little bit more flat. We can maybe do some kind of combination of a few different things. That, or even pulling the forehead forward more. Some kind of combination of that. We might have to play with that later after we get a little bit closer with some of the rest of these shapes. Alright, so let's see. What do we got going on here? We got like this flow back, kind of connecting up to that additional piece that we'll add on separately. Let's just think about that a little bit. And then flowing back here. This feels extremely awkward to me, so let's just change the way that this is wrapping. The main reason why I've got these started to split off is just because it gives me a lot more control over these shapes, in particular around these tips of the hair. for those that are kind of unfamiliar with the techniques that I'm using. Alright, that'll start to shape up more as we get the rest of these, so let's kind of plunge right in and keep going forward. Progress. Yay. Español, no. No que pasa. Nihongo hanasu koto ga dekiru, sukoshi dekiru. Just a little Japanese. But that's all. As well as English, I guess. I always love the ha 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 in Spanish because I always read it as ja ja ja, which Milo Kilo just put. Ja ja ja. I love it. All right, let's continue shaping. From here, we'll move on to our third piece, our third large chunk of hair. Another thing that we're going to be kind of worrying about while we do this is how these are going to sync up into each other. I'm trying to worry a little bit more about those major silhouette forms, and then we'll start to kind of get in here and, you know, really clean these up. But let's just kind of keep that in the back of our head so that as we move forward and progress, we don't get, you know, we don't completely forget about that. Anything that I can do to save me some time later on is going to be nice. Let's see, how are we doing on time real quick here? Soon, the stylizing creatures artist will control the industry. What? 3D scan and auto character generator software is blah blah blah. Yes, in a little bit. I don't know if I would say soon. I think there's always going to be a need for that kind of stuff. There might be, you know, a point off in the future where realistic character artists just have no role whatsoever. I don't think that'll be the case. But yeah, you know, for stylized work, there's not really an automatic method. There's nothing to scan when you look at this image. There are some there's some technology that could maybe like revolve this concept into 3D, but there's so much, you know, interpretation that has to be done by me to think about how these shapes would start to translate to 3D, which is not an easy thing, you know, especially when you're just working off of a single image. Maybe if you had more of a model sheet, that might be more possible. But, you know, I think there's always going to be need for that little human touch in there, especially for more stylized stuff. But I also really like, you know, that's not why I chose to go the route that I did. I just love working on cartoony, stylized characters. I love obsessing over form. That's why I really take my time with this stuff, but I end up with a really clean result, so I think I'm obviously doing something right. I don't really like the way that surface was transitioning there, so I wanted to fix that a little bit. I really like to keep stuff kind of in that sculptural black and white stage for as long as possible. I do have some poly paint on this, but typically the better I can get something to look, obviously sculpturally, you know, you start to cheat stuff when you get that texture in there. So the better I can get something to look with just my sculpting material, my Folly clay material here, once I start adding that poly paint or turning that back on, the better off we're going to be overall. Let's see here. Looking at that distance between the eyebrows and the top of the forehead, I think we'll just kind of hold on to that. I think on the hair today, we're not gonna, just because time is a thing, I don't think we're gonna obsess over the shape probably as much as I would normally do. I think we're probably just gonna aim for what I like to call close enough, which will be close enough. For me, mentally, it will hurt, but I think it'll be all right. We'll make do. I really like to use that pinch brush a lot as well to help define some plane changes. So I'm seeing that there's a little bit of a line right through here in this area. And the way that I'm interpreting that, at least, is that the form is starting to turn a little bit right through here. So I've kind of planed that out a little bit more. We'll get that little dagger piece of a hair in there as well. I think that'll look real nice. Leventus says, aren't you making this guy before? I assume you're talking about our last stream. Yes, during our last stream, if that's what you're referring to, which is on the Pixelogic YouTube channel now. We started from a sphere, from scratch, and did everything except for the hair. We just kind of blocked that out. We didn't even really block it out. I kind of extracted it and said we'll finish it next time, which is now, by the way. But yeah, you know, we've done a lot on this guy during the last stream. We've done a lot more already, and we're going to continue doing a lot more. Yeah. Takes time, especially when I only stream here on the channel like 2 hours at a time. Doesn't leave much room for, you know, getting stuff done. But I thought specifically, that's why I didn't touch this guy on my own channel. I stream on my own Twitch channel, which there should be a link at the top of the screen for. But normally I would finish something like this over on my own channel and show you guys the finished result. The next week we came back, but I really wanted to do a full kind of character just here on the Pixelogic channel, since we're always kind of starting and doing a ton of new stuff, and there's a week in between sculpts, so that leaves a lot of room for stuff getting finished. But yeah, I don't know if we'll finish this guy today. We'll finish a lot for sure. Still got a whole nother hour till I gotta bounce, and we might even be able to do a little extra today. So I don't believe that there's anybody streaming after me here on the Pixo channel. So something like that. Oh, that's what's wrong. That would be very hard to close our geometry on with the Dynamesh, because that was so opened up. Alright, so we can kind of see this hair starting to slowly get cleaned up from this side over. Let's see. Fudge that arrow. Did it wrong. That's alright. You guys get the picture. Alright, let's do a quick little Z-remesh here and continue with the shape of our hair. Flexington. Awesome name. It says, looks great. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. So what's awesome about this kind of stuff, by splitting this off, now I can really get in here into this middle section and get this surface to start turning a lot faster, which is really what we need. Need that nice wrap up into there. Starts to really make these shapes feel integrated a little bit better. Now let's see, where do I want that going? I want this tip pointing down a bit more. And let's see what I do over here. Let's do maybe a bit of move here. I has, what's going on? I has rubs. Welcome. Everything is awesome. Well, great. Now I'm gonna have that song stuck in my head. Why'd you do that to me? It was very nice. Everything is awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever played Beat Saber, but if you know somebody that has it, or if you have it, you can download the Lego Everything is Awesome song on it, and it is one of the hardest songs. Like if you play it on, I think the highest difficulty is just Expert. There's also Expert Plus, but I don't know if there's it might only be Expert Plus. I don't remember, but I can't remember if I beat it. I either beat it or got very close to beating it on my friend's HTC Vive. I love Beat Saber. It's so much fun to play. If you guys get the opportunity, you should definitely give it a shot. It's a ton of fun. But that song is like, it is a workout for sure. And everything is not awesome in that song. It is sweat, fear-inducing, because you like get really close to the end, and then it's just got like this, it's got hard part after hard part after hard part. It's just a difficult song. It's a lot of fun though. Love to get me some VR. Love to get a Vive. It is a little pricey right now for a toy that I wouldn't use very often. Maybe I can cancel my gym membership and play Beat Saber more often. It's probably not a great idea. Have you ever sung Singing in the Rain? Sung Singing in the Rain. Singing in the Rain. I don't know if that's the song I'm thinking of, but I'm not much of a singer. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever even heard of this song, if it's the song that I'm thinking of. Alright, so that's getting a little bit stretched. Let's just make sure we got enough volume through all of this. Babies, what's going on? Welcome back, man. Babies was joining us over on my Twitch channel earlier today when we were sculpting PewDiePie. Link me this baby song, this rain, singing in the rain. Who's it by? Do I know this?
I'm singing in the rain.
Oh yes, of course. Of course I know this song. That's about all we can play before we get copyright strike, though, so I think I think that's enough. I do know this song. I probably whistle it from time to time. Like I said, not much of a singer myself, but I do pride myself in my whistling skills. Alright, let's change that shape, get that kind of curving a little bit earlier. And I think this is just like a little bit too flat through here, so I would probably, to start getting some extra volume on top, start using like a dam standard or a sharp soft edge. Just fill that in a bit. Alright, let's move on to this last little chunk of hair. And we can make some decisions about where we want to go from here. We don't have to continue working on this hair. Like if we're like been there, done that, we can always work on something else. Let's see. Whoops. Try to get this about in the same place. Like I said, we're doing this asymmetrically, so it's cool if it's, you know, not the same on the other side. I am going to go open up my door in just a second here, because it is getting toasty in here. Alright, so I think I'll show you guys how I would do some of these additional smaller strands after we clean up this last little sad dude over here. We can go from there, decide what we want to do next. If anybody wants to see something specific, let me know in chat, and we can maybe take a look. Some specific techniques, or I don't know, maybe we just want to sculpt something else, something crazy. I don't know. What do we got? What do we got, gang? Oh, this one's quite a sharp transition on top. So how do we want to do that? Probably just start by planing out this shape quite a bit on top. It's gonna have to get much more thin and sharp through here, so let's go ahead and do that. Do you ever do lifelike stuff? Lifelike models? Yes. Yeah, go ahead and check out my art station. You're just Google Follygon, you'll find my stuff. Always wanted to learn ZBrush? Well, hey, no time like the present. terms of recommendations for those people that are new, there's a ton of free stuff, free content here on the Pixelogic channel. I have my own YouTube channel. I also stream on Twitch. If you go to my website, Follygon.com, or just Google Follygon, you'll find all my stuff, links to all my jazz. But over on my Gumroad has, if you're looking for like a way to get started, gumroad.com/Follygon, my How to ZBrush Supercut course. It's for absolute beginners. The entire point of the course is to get people up and running in as fast as possible, so if that sounds like something that you're interested in, that might be more your speed. But ZBrush is a complex program, and even after learning the program, then comes the really hard part, which is learning how to sculpt, which is, it's a lot. It is a lot. Heck, all of us are still doing it. You never stop learning, right? I'm starting to like the flow of how these are connecting though, so that's nice. There's probably some areas where it could be a bit better though. Always room for improvement. Saeed, what's going on? One of my favorite characters from Lost, an absolutely terrible TV show that started off really good. I still have a soft spot for Lost. I used to, so at my old place, my old apartment, my Wi-Fi router was called the Swan, and the password to it was the numbers from Lost that they had to input in the spoiler alert, the essentially like bomb. It's like a giant magnet or something like that, and it's what ended up bringing down the plane. Can't remember the numbers anymore. It's like 4, 8, 15, 16, 32, or 42, something. I can't remember. I used to know them by heart. I'm proud to say that I have forgotten. Alright, let's get a little bit more volume down here. Get that wrapping a little bit better. Kind of get a little bit of an S going on there. It's getting a little complicated, but that's fine. We'll make do. Let's fix that shadow there. Whoops. It's getting a little bit funky with this surface. Kirill, I believe, is how you say that. What's going on? How you doing? Capito. I'm guessing this means maybe hello. I don't know. Or maybe it means kaput. Final. Alright. So after we maybe just like pull this up a little bit just to fit the silhouette a little bit better, I think that's fine. Now I want to show you how I would start to do some of these secondary strands that are kind of filling in a little bit more of this form. So I would probably use something like the curved tube brush. So let's go ahead and set that up and take a look at the default stroke for that, which is just a tube of geometry, which isn't very helpful. So what we want to do instead is go into our stroke menu, curve modifiers, size. Whoops. And I want to get some taper. Let's give that a quick test. Much better. Very good. That's exactly what we're looking for. Close that. Come on. There we go. So let's just start, I think, with probably a basic curve going back. We'll accept that and grab our curved tube here and rotate that to fit the silhouette next. And then all we have to do, once we get this fitting the shape that we need, is blend that into the other pieces of our hair, which is pretty easy to do. Just take some time. Let's make sure that's going the right way. And let's even delete a couple of you. You're too fat. That needs to just be wider, and let's go for a shorter shape. I don't want this extending off the hair super far. So instead we'll do something like that. And then I just need it to actually like turn a bit faster. Do not speak English well, you are Russian. No problem. No problem at all. Welcome, either way. Welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Yes, my brushes are on my Gumroad. Here. Whoops. Here's a link for you. See if that actually goes through. Been having trouble with the chat app here sending stuff, but I think that'll work. Alright, so essentially curved tube snap, that's the brush that I'm using. Starting to block out a few more of these. Maybe we can get this other little guy here running up there. Get all of these working together. Do you usually render in Keyshot, or what render engine do you use? I do normally, or at least I used to, render in Keyshot a lot. I've actually been playing around with Blender 2.8 with their render engine, Cycles Render, which is what I did for this dude here, which was a pretty simple 3-point lighting setup. And then I just composited a few different things in Photoshop, a few different render passes, mainly just to fix the shadows on the ground. But yeah, pretty much just a 3-point lighting setup, which you can also do in Keyshot. It was just a little bit faster and easier in Blender, and I really like the result that I got out of this. So I'll be playing with that more in the future. I actually plan on using that for rendering this dude here, which I've been working on my own stream, which there's a link somewhere. Actually, no, I think my website link is up here. My Twitch channel is twitch.tv/Follygon with an underscore at the very end. But yeah, I'll be probably trying to render him in there, and maybe even this guy. I might render this guy in Blender as well. We'll see. Play around with it. I will say that some people have been asking about the sculpting tools in Blender. I'm really not a fan, and you know, I'll let you guys make your own decision, but there's a reason that ZBrush is the industry standard for sculpting. Alright, let's lower the poly count on this one too. Get rid of some of these edge loops. But if you guys want some tips on some quick rendering in ZBrush, I really like to, we'll just grab this dude real quick here. If you go up into the render menu, open up your BPR shadow, maybe this is how you export your different render passes and render properties. And I'll turn on AO. Oops, come back. Under BPR shadow, I'll set my strength to 0.15. Raise around, we'll do 50 really quick. We'll have less strong the shadows won't be as high resolution, but that's okay. And yeah, it should work. Just do a quick BPR without changing anything else. The area around here, just because I don't have the ray count very high, it's probably gonna break some stuff. Here, maybe we'll turn off AO. That might help a little bit. But yeah, those quick render settings in ZBrush, if you're just trying to get, you know, a really quick render pass out, some nice clean shadows. I find that turning that strength down and switching your angle to around 15 to 30, somewhere around there, you can typically get some pretty good results. But yeah, there we go. Nice and simple, nice and quick. And there are those settings again. Just G strength, your global strength for your shadows, and angle are what's important. The rays, if you want to get some higher quality shadows, you just need to increase this to maybe depending on what you're rendering, maybe 100 or so. It just kind of depends on what you're trying to render. But yeah, play around with it. Let's see, let's get that last little tubule of hair sliding out that way. A cool thing that you can do with this brush as well, you can turn down your Z intensity. This actually works for all IMM brushes. And if you re-tap on that, it'll actually squash that shape down. So if you want to get something a little bit more thin, you can do that way. Let's go for 75-ish. A fellow 9-year-old, yes. Except I actually look the part. How much do you study? Well, I guess it depends what you define as study. I'm not reading books every day or anything. But I sculpt every day. All day, pretty much. So in that regard, a lot. And especially when I was new and starting out, your main objective should be quantity over quality. Let's get that hour count up as quick as you can. Because that hour count needs to be pretty high. Alright, let's see. Maybe I can adjust these just a little bit more. We don't have to obsess over these a lot, like I said. At least showing the process is very nice, very important to me. And I hope that it's been helpful. And then, like I said, all we'd have to do from here is start to blend in a lot of these shapes. These are kind of all at the same location from the z-axis. So I'd probably, you know, slide some of these back, get some more variation here, something a little bit more like that. That feels quite a bit better to me. And then after some blending, I think we'd be in a really good place. Enjoy your Pewds model, and this one is turning out cool too. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate that. It's very nice of you. It's all just a matter of time, really. Everything looks like an alien until you spend a little bit more time on it. Or as Dylan Ekron always says, everything looks bad until it doesn't. Which is a nice little motto, I think. Here I am, obsessing over shape. I said I wouldn't, but I can't help it. It's just who I am. Alright. Somebody come pull me away. Alright, let's see. Take a step back. Look at some of this. Starting to shape up quite a bit more. I think if anything in these like major shapes, I would just like to get more variation. Just went like Stutter City there, but I'd like to get more variation in the kind of depth of these shapes from that z-axis. But other than that, I think they're headed in a really good direction. And I would probably continue getting a few more of these tubes, which we can maybe, you know, do really quick. Why is that so fat? A little fat tube. Way too fat. It's either too fat or too small. It's closer. And then if we want to start pushing towards secondary forms in some of the hair, you can see that sculpturally there's some line here indicating the direction of that hair, even more so, which is kind of helping me indicate some of the major shapes. And now if we want to push that way a little bit further, we could do that. It's really just a lot of room here for improvement, which is good. Good luck. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. You have a wonderful evening. Oops. Wrong way. I want to start turning this a little bit sharper. Really quick, let's see. Let's turn all of our poly paint back on. Give me that blue. I do like this blue a lot. I think from here Let's see. Eyes feel like they're too pointed out too far. And I think there's some other stuff that we can change there. So really quick, let's go into Transpose Master. One of my favorite little features is ZBrush. There's a lot more that we can do with the hair, but I think, you know, for now we'll just kind of leave that. We can come back to it after we work on some other stuff. Such as our eyes. I want to squish the shape of our pupils a little bit. Feeling a little bit too round. As well as possibly rotate these. Now these are no longer round. The shape of them is gonna get a little wonky there, I think. It's okay though, we'll fix it. I typically like keeping round eyeballs if I can, but for this they were just like so squashed and flattened, or this face was kind of going that direction so much so that it was just easier to do. So sometimes it's not really possible though. Something like this, I think it is possible, but the eyeball would just have to be almost as big as his head to get what we want here. So I think it makes a little bit more sense to go the direction that we did here. I think it's fine. And if anything, can we make these eyes a little bit taller without breaking everything? But it's okay to break some stuff. You always gotta typically break a couple things to fix something else. It's kind of the nature of how this stuff works. Especially once you get into posing and expression. All that good stuff. So yeah, I think that shape of the pupil iris combo there definitely helps out a little bit. What's going on there? Huh, sure. Alright, so the eyebrows making us feel a little bit too kind of surprised. I think we want that to feel a little bit more relaxed. So in combination with softening and moving down the brows, I'm actually going to move the eyebrow geometry here. And maybe just change the angle of this a little bit. Have a good one. That's a pretty Midwestern thing to say as well. Dwayne, what's going on? Hola. Learn some good tips. Fantastic, man. That's the whole reason. Spread the knowledge. Zadirk, thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. So we're still getting a little bit of that awkward shadow that I mentioned earlier, right above the eye. I don't like that. So let's try to get rid of that a little bit. Maybe we can try to get a little bit of the cartoony blush going on the face as well. Typically I don't try to do that stuff, but I don't know, might be fun to play with. Always fun to try new things. And fail. Fail, fail, fail until you get it right. What is it? Learn, or wait. Try, fail, learn, repeat. Eventually succeed. Like, just from right here, it feels a little, like, Rick Sanchez. A little bit. Just because of the big blue hair. Somebody else said ninja. I don't think it's supposed to be ninja. That was pretty bad placement on my part. I'm gonna redo that one. Let's go for a bit lower. Dwayne asks, do you prefer the transpose line over the gizmo, or do you tend to mix them up? Nope, I pretty much exclusively use the transpose line. I started using ZBrush when the transpose line was the only tool available, so I just got used to it. Plus, there's a lot of cool secret functionality with the transpose line. I actually made a video about it recently on my YouTube channel. Secret ZBrush features with the transpose line. There's a bunch of them. It's like when I say there's a bunch of them, I mean there's a bunch of them. Which is why I use it. Like, for instance, did you guys know that you can inflate and deflate with your transpose line? Pretty cool. There's a lot of crazy stuff that you can do with it. You can, whoops. If I can get it. You can duplicate stuff. I don't know why that wasn't working. You can do all sorts of stuff. All sorts of nifty little tips and tricks. Let's see here. So I was thinking it might be fun. I think I'm just gonna give him a little bit more blush here. And I think I'm just going to give him a little bit more color in general. He's still feeling a little bit too pale to me. Got such a simple, stupid head shape that it's kind of hard to, you know, figure out what to do with that mouth. I worked on characters like this before where, you know, you just have a really simplistic shape and then a line for the mouth, and you have to kind of interpret what to do with that, and it's not always super easy. I think the route that we've gone here is fine. I was just kind of maybe trying to get a little bit more depth out of that. I don't know. I think it's probably okay. Oh, mouth looks a little large compared to the concept. Looks as if it should be more to the side and a little smaller. I think you're right. As I started to adjust that, I think we got a little bit too close to the middle. In terms of size, though, I think we're probably good on the width of that. But I think we do want to scooch that over to the right a little bit more. Faux show. Let's try. Oh, that's not good. Need to fix our mask intensity, which is controlled by your RGB intensity, which is a little bit weird, just the way it works though. Let's try giving that a little nudge over here at this lowest res, and let's go a little bit larger here. I did originally line this up with the concept, and that's how we got that mouth, but I think after I added a little bit more depth, that started to scoop back over. Let's go real big here, mask that. Just give that a little nudge. And then fill out the rest of that shape, make sure we're kind of retaining our primary form. Remember that whenever you sculpt or start sculpting secondary forms or even going into some tertiary details, everything that you've done before that, you got to make sure that you retain all that. It's very important that you do that. Just watched that the other day. Can't seem to get the bend function down without the transpose line. So the bend curve function, I think you're talking maybe about the bend curve, which you can somewhat do with the transpose line. I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about. Favorite option is the bend arc option with the trans line, says Swifty Spade. Yeah, there's quite a few. A bunch of neat ones. I typically don't use that because it's not as accurate as me just manually hitting something with the move brush, which is pretty much the same reason I don't use the inflate brush very often. I always grab my move brush and just do some back face masking. It's a little bit more controlled. Alright, so from here, whoops. Fun fact, if you alt-click on something in the ZBrush UI, it will open up that palette in one of your sidebars. So if I right-click on perspective, it will open up the draw palette, because that's where the perspective option is in that menu. And if you alt-click that button again, it will hide that menu. It will undock it for you. It's a cool little trick in ZBrush. Also, if you hold control over something, it'll give you some more information about it. Not everything has more information, though. There are some options that just say, like some default text. What is that? That is hilarious. Why is that there? That is like perfect nipple placement. Oh my god. Alright, let's reapply our material. That's so funny. Oh. And fix the jawline here, which is kind of getting a little wonk. I don't want this to be super hard though. Let's see. Watching Shane Olsen the other day and wasn't able to catch how he did it. How he did what? Did I miss something? Just have to slow the vid down a bit, I guess. Can't wait to see the collab with you and Shane. Yes, that's right. He'd mentioned something about that a while ago. I think it's just a matter of finding something cool for both of us to work on together. I don't know, collabs are... I've never really done like a sculptural collab where I make one thing and the other person does another thing. Maybe there's like a scene with like 2 characters in it that we could do, something like that. What do you guys think? Pero, what's going on? Nice ellipses. What was the important thing before secondary shapes? Probably primary shapes, if I had to guess. Are the eyes like a squished sphere, or are they hollow? Just a sphere. It's been squished. Squished in a couple of different directions. Alright. I would like to give this guy some arms. I was thinking about just like clipping this at a certain point. But I think now I'd like to give this dude some arms so he doesn't feel quite like a popsicle. Kind of feels like a popsicle right now. So let's do that. Let's give him some arms. But I do like the main shape of the silhouette. It's pretty close to what we have in the concept. So we will do some stuff here to retain that. This guy doesn't really have much of a ribcage shape for me to do this, but it's fine. We'll make it work. Instead of actually doing arms, I'm just going to do sleeves, and then maybe I'll do like a little tube inside of there. We'll see. But let's go transparency. Let's narrow this out. They look like cookies. The eyes look like cookies. Well, the eyes are the window to the soul, so maybe this dude is thinking about cookies. I could see that. Working your way back into ZBrush? Awesome, man. Well, welcome back. Struggle the most with the eyes? Eyes are tough, that's for certain. Here, very quickly. You go hang out up in the corner for a moment while we zoom in on your arms. You don't do normal eyes? Well, I don't know if there are normal eyes. I go with a socket that resembles a skull. Well, I often do that in my sculpts as well. Trying to use edge loops and panel loops. It's a pretty good technique. I like using the edge loops a lot. I don't like panel loops too much though. I like group loops though too. Dwayne, heading out? Not a problem, brother. You have a fantastic rest of your day. Thank you so much, man. It's very kind of you. Humanized cookie monster. Alright, so I probably want to come in a bit more here. Make sure we are giving ourselves enough room. for our arms so that we're still fitting the same silhouette shape. All right. Now we're just gonna do some short sleeves. Now, a lot of people, so at the beginning of our stream, somebody was asking about how do you add thickness to geometry, right? And I said a lot of the time I fake it because it increases your poly count. It does a lot of things that really aren't worth having, in my opinion. So I will show you how I do that right now. So actually, let's grab this and run a close holes operation on this. I'm gonna seal that off, make that a solid shape. And then for that green edge loop, or green polygroup island, sorry, I'm gonna do an extrude polygroup island. I'm just gonna push that down in there. And essentially what we're doing is we're creating the illusion of thickness, which is what I prefer to have. And hopefully we can just do a little bit of a bevel around there. Get that be a little bit softer. And then of course we need to adjust our collar, which is just a separate piece of geometry that we've plooped on here. Really simple tube. Remember when I said that curved tube snap has more uses than just hair? I actually used it to create this. Let's see, really quick. Oh, that is already creased down there. That is perfect. That's just what I want. I'm gonna bring our neck hole. Neck hole sounds awkward. This opening, I'm gonna bring that in a bit. So in the shirt, we have a little illusion of thickness, right? But we want to do that on our sleeves as well. But first, let's crease this up. Is there a certain way to save masks to bring them back later? Yes and no. Pretty much the only way is to use polygroups. I guess you could also cheat something with textures. You could like make a texture map and then like make a really distinct clown pass, if you know what that is, and then come back later in your polygroups menu and you can like mask by poly paint, and there's some other stuff that you can do. You can like polygroup based on hue intensity and all sorts of other stuff. But I would say for the most part, if you're just like trying to work and get stuff done, just use polygroups. Make a mask, whatever mask you have. If you press Control W, it will Control W, it will polygroup whatever you have masked. That's probably the quickest way to go about creating polygroups if you're not familiar with that. If you want to learn more, there's a ton of stuff online I'm sure that you can grab to learn more about polygrouping, but that's probably the most used method. But yes, let's get back to our arms here. So we got our sleeves, we got our little kind of deltoidy attachment up here. I think, get rid of that, and just close that off. And I don't know, let me just try to find a good angle for these first. Something that feels a little bit closer to what I'm seeing there in the concept, width-wise. And then essentially for that shape, what we want, it's way too high res. So if we look at the silhouette, we come down from the neck, it's pretty much a straight line. So it goes 1 and then 2 down. So we want 1 and then 2 down. So let's find that line. Find the width there that we want. How about customized masked shapes like a star or whatever? You can do that. Yep. Grab your standard brush. I like to use the standard brush. Set this to drag rectangle. And then for your alpha, would you say a star? So here, alpha 10. Sorry, I didn't mean to do this on the standard brush. Grab your mask pen brush. Drag rectangle, give me that alpha 10 again, and voila, there we go. And it's fading out very quickly. Change my focal shift and probably go into the alpha settings for this alpha just to make sure that that alpha isn't fading out, as well as, whoops, come on. See if I can get that. There we go. So the alpha has a little bit of some of that fade on the outside, but yeah, I think you get the idea. It is possible. All right, arms were pretty simple. So from here, when I mentioned the idea of the illusion of thickness, so we have a sleeve that kind of just ends in a cap. So typically what I end up doing for stuff like this is, we'll just add a couple subdivisions. I'll do this really quick with like a mask pen, since this is pretty much a cylinder here. Mask off this basic shape. Slide that in a little bit, and then what I like to do is, whoops, use a little sim, and we'll just add a little bit of taper there as well. So if we were to 3D print this or something later on, that works even better, so we don't get too thin. And we have done it. We have created the illusion of thickness for a sleeve. And then from there, all we need to do is make our actual arm, which I don't know, we can just use a cylinder for. Whoop, trying to find the right cylinder. So many cylinders. This is my special cylinder that I have appended to this brush. It is a creased cylinder. He does have some stick arms. He's pretty skinny, so I don't know. I'm gonna play around with that, but I think we are pretty much there for the basic shape here. I'm probably not gonna actually do arms now that I think about this. I think I will probably clip this off like around, somewhere around here, but having that separation for the sleeve I think will be nice. So maybe we just toggle that back off and we blend our sleeve into our actual shirt here. Make sure that we get a really nice hit here. So I'm like pinching that a little bit. So that's where the surface turns, probably even a little bit higher, more in, but we can play with that. Clovia, what's going on? Welcome to the stream. Lord of the Mountains, nice username, says that's some pretty good topology. You use the Z-remesher so well. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. For something like this, you know, it's pretty simple to get, you know, relatively clean topology. There are some areas where the turn in the surface, here and here, we start to get some awkward awkward turns, but other than that, you know, it works pretty well for what we're using it for sculpting. As long as I can sculpt with it, I'm happy. Alright, let's try merging our sleeve into our shirt. I think we'll just use Dynamesh for that. Normally I don't like to merge sleeves like this or merge arms when they're folded down because this part ends up merging together. You'll see here in a second. That area starts to merge together. But for this, because I'm literally just going to do one of these later on and like clip that up, it really doesn't matter. So I'm not too worried about it. I'm just gonna be blending this, cleaning it up. And then leave a little bit of the crease there for the pit, the armpit. Ooh, no! Accidentally Dynamesh that collar in. Let me step back a little bit. Didn't want to do that. It's the one thing I didn't want to merge. It's alright. I think that took all of 5 seconds to do. What hotkeys are you using to extrude? Asks Tetris God. I'm not using any hotkeys to extrude. Could you be a little bit more specific? I wasn't... At what point? At what point? With the Z modeler brush, maybe? Here, hold on a second. Are you talking about this? This menu here to extrude? All you do is hold spacebar when you have the Z modeler brush on over anything that you got. You can change it that way. The sleeves. I didn't extrude the sleeves. I grabbed an IMM primitive brush. Here. I had an IMM primitive brush and I appended spheres like this using the IMM primitive brush, and then I duplicated the sphere, stretched it out, and just carved it into the shape of a sleeve. I didn't use a hotkey to make a sleeve. Although if there was a sleeve hotkey, that would be pretty nice. It would save me some time. To make the holes for the sleeves, I masked off the end cap, and then I just pushed it in. So, if you're not familiar with masking, hold the control key and you can paint your mask. And then I control clicked to invert that mask. I also blurred the mask. You can control click on your surface to do that. There's a few ways to do that. And then I just took my transpose line and just pushed that surface in. I obviously did it a little bit more clean. I'm going to leave this flat on the bottom though because I don't care. But yes, that is how I went about that. I'm not actually going to need you, arms. Go away. Sick. Sick, dude. Heck yeah, man. Masking's a ton of fun. Is this not symmetrical? I guess it is. I don't know why I didn't think it was. A little bit wide compared to this dude, right? If we look at kind of that line, if we draw a line straight up, it's hitting a little bit past his ear. If we look here, where that shoulder is right now, way too far out, I'm thinking. Let's just grab this, kind of push that in some more. Same here. Again, I'm probably just going to delete most of this body down here. This is just supposed to be a bust, right? So we'll probably clip off some more stuff here. I don't know, maybe we can just leave it the way it is. Terminate it somewhere around here. I don't know. Pretty happy with that. It's just a matter of deciding where to end that shape. Love the development. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. RD, what's going on? How have you been, man? Well, we're going a little bit over time, but you know what? That's okay, because I don't think there's anybody streaming after me, so they can't yell at me too much, right? By the way, since we're kind of nearing the end of this, on my own stream, this Friday at noon EST, on my Twitch channel, we will be doing live critiques. So if you guys have some stuff that you want to get critiqued live on stream, all you have to do is email that to me at follygon@gmail.com. I will take a look at it this Friday. Again, that's at noon EST over on twitch.tv/Follygon with an underscore at the end. Let's make these a little bit more. Just a little bit. Oops, go away, floor. Cool, cool, cool. As with everything else, you know, there's plenty of room here to obsess over our silhouette and really try to clean up some of this. But I think for the most part, we can kind of just move on. Doesn't need to be perfect, especially for something so quick. But I hope that it's been helpful during our stream today to see all this in real time. Like I said, if you missed the first part and want to see how this started, we started from just a sphere and started shaping this up. It took us about 2 hours to get the, you know what, actually I'll just load in the base here from where we started, the first piece. He was not pink though. So this is the there we go. Jeez. So that's where we started. We did this last Tuesday in about a couple hours, and then today, after our stream, we've gotten a little bit further on this guy. I think we could push this even further if we wanted, but I think that's probably a good stopping point for this dude, for something so quick. But again, I hope it's been helpful and fun to see some of this development over time here. I don't know. We could maybe give him some quick arms. Just planning on just clipping these. Doesn't really matter, I guess. That looks about right to me. Or we could just kind of leave that there. Kind of a Venus de Milo style, right? Jesse says, sorry I lost internet connection. I don't know if you responded to the question, but what tutorial do you recommend to take ZBrush to a professional level? Well, it kind of depends on your skill level, so I think that's going to be different for everybody, but there is a ton of free content online on the Pixelogic channel. I have my own YouTube channel as well, which also hosts a ton of free content. I stream quite often, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday at noon EST over on my channel. And I stream here on Tuesdays as well, to Stream Tuesday at 6 p.m. EST. So I'm always around for answering questions if you want to go that route. But I also have a Gumroad with some more professional stuff that I put a lot more time into. If I can ever find my browser, too many things open. But that's just gumroad.com/Follygon. This top row is all my tutorial content. If you're brand new to ZBrush, I always recommend my quick start course to get you up and running in ZBrush as quick as possible. And then I have some more stuff for more intermediate to advanced users as well. I'll very quickly just share this link in chat since there's not a link anywhere here on the page, since we're over on the Pixelogic channel tonight. My channel, just Google Follygon and you'll find all my stuff. Or if you go to Follygon.com, you'll find it all. My Twitch channel, Follygon, YouTube, Follygon, all Follygon. So just Google Follygon and you should be able to find it all. But other than that, guys, like I said, I think that's a pretty good place to stop. There's obviously more work we can do up here in the hair. We never really blended these secondary pieces, but I think we made some really good progress tonight. Again, hope it's been helpful for you. Make sure we don't have any last-minute questions here. I think we are good. Awesome. Let me save this bad boy out. Again, the 2D concept here is by Luigi Lucarelli. You guys should definitely go check him out. He's got some really cool stuff. I really love his style. This is a pretty old image, so even, this is very well done, but even his newer stuff is even nicer. I think this is like a 2-year-old image or something like that. But Luigi Lucarelli, or just Google Hello Luigi to find his Instagram. Where'd my mouse go? Okay. All right. Again, you guys have a wonderful night. This is the Pixelogic ZBrush channel. If you don't already, click that follow button. Go check out their YouTube channel. Check out their official ZBrush Discord. If you guys have questions, any of that. Am I forgetting anything else? I don't think so. All right. You guys have a great night, and I will see you next time. Bye, guys.